welcome back to another episode of Born to Talk with Callanthea. In this episode, we're going to be discussing self-improvement topic of giving yourself permission to get creative. And essentially, when we think about creativity, we might actually want to overlook it, but I do think that it's absolutely crucial to help us improve and be our best selves. So in this episode, what I'll kind of break down a little bit about what I think creative expression is, how to find your own creative expression, including my own experiences, and then the benefits of creativity as well. And then hopefully, you'll feel inspired by the end to sort of reflect on this and think, what's going to be worth doing for you. So, first of all, when we think about what even is creative expression, because when I think about that word creativity, instantly I just assume it's people drawing pictures, maybe creating music, and almost like it's a club that I can't go in. And we probably all feel that sometimes, like, oh, we've not really got the same skills as other people, and you don't know where to begin, and maybe thinking, you're not good enough. So you kind of don't even actually really think about what creative expression truly is. But I think that it's anything at all that you want to be able to create from within yourself. So it might be a new idea. It might be actually creating something more physical and tangible, right? We're all different, and that's absolutely fine. But of course, it does encompass, art, music. Maybe some people really enjoy creating clothes, making clothes, or I don't know, maybe like a recipe or something different like that, or getting really creative with baking. And, you can literally put creativity into absolutely everything that we do. Whether it is chores around the house, whether it's, when we're at work, or whether it is just, the kind of the stereotypical creativity, things that you actually want to do, maybe writing a story, something like that. So there's loads of ways to get creative. And essentially that's what I think that creative expression is, okay? It's a whole host of things that's new to us that we sort of feel like we are creating something, even if it is just as simple as a new idea. So how can you find your own creative expression then? Because I kind of already mentioned that we do shy away from it if we don't perceive ourselves to be very good at something, we just assume that we can't do it, right? So we might think, well, I wasn't very good at writing stories at school, therefore I'm not going to bother. Or, well, I wouldn't really know where to start in creating a song or drawing a picture. I don't really feel that confident. And people will think that and therefore feel that they're not actually creative, when how much of that is you putting on your own sort of restrictions and self limiting beliefs, and I think if we can overcome that, then we can actually start to fall in love with doing lots of different little creative things, whether it is just like a bigger project, a smaller project, little nuggets of creativity here and there. It can really make a difference to our lives. So when I think about my own experiences, because I think that this might help you sort of reflect on how you can get creative in your life, whatever applies to you. But my creativity, when I was a child, I loved writing. So I would write poetry, I would write stories, and I'm talking like I was probably 8 years old. Absolutely loved it. And then I hit being a teenager, went to secondary school, and it's almost like my confidence just dropped, and then I was comparing myself to everyone else around me, and I really just started to doubt myself. Plus, I was a little bit of a perfectionist, still am, to be honest. I have to work on that. So just feeling like, oh, I'm never good enough, or I can't do enough, or I'm embarrassed to show my work because it's probably not going to be good enough. And all of those thoughts kind of made me believe that creativity wasn't for me, even though when I was younger, before I was kind of restricted by my own limiting beliefs, I actually really enjoyed being creative. I used to make up songs as well, to tunes and things, and I really enjoyed doing that. But then, like I said, I kind of like lost my way as I kind of started to grow up and become a teenager. And even a young adult, I really struggled with this, like shied away from creativity. So, me creating this podcast is something that's actually quite big for me. it's a way for me to express myself. I can get creative with the ideas that that I want to kind of do the episodes on, and just putting things together with a little tune at the beginning, at the end. Honestly, that is also creativity. And it's such a big thing. And I would never have dreamed of doing anything like a podcast when I was a teenager. I would have felt like out my depth, overwhelmed. I can't do that. And I've really come a long way since then. And just recently, I actually joined a theatre group, and I actually got like one of the main parts. So it was a performance called Sheila's Island, where there's 4 women, and I played the character of Faye. And I remember thinking, I used to love doing theatre when I was a kid, and then again, I kind of like lost myself along the way. And then just recently, I've been thinking, especially this year, how can I become more creative? Because I know that my soul wants to express itself, and I've kind of just put myself into this like academic box, or just feeling like I can't, truly just be free in who I am. And I really wanted to be able to kind of challenge that. So anyway, I saw this audition. I thought, even though I've got hardly any experience, like literally a bit of experience as a kid, being on stage. But as an adult, absolutely not. So I went to this audition. I was absolutely terrified. But I ended up landing the part. And then I had a bit of a realization like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm a complete novice compared to everyone else. And even though it was like a local theatre, where it is essentially amateurs who become a little bit more experienced as they keep doing the shows, but I still felt that pressure of, am I going to be good enough for this? Because I don't have the experience like other people do. And, people are paying to see this show, and I don't want to let anyone down. But you know what? I did the audition, got through that, even though I was absolutely terrified. And then I did get the part. And then the shows actually went really, really well. We had so much good feedback, and it was lovely to see people like making comments like, oh, the acting was second to none from everyone. And I thought, from everyone, that includes me, even though the others were absolutely incredible, really experienced. And but I'm really proud of myself for putting myself out there, and I listened to my gut essentially. And it was just really nice to be able to kind of get out on a stage and perform, and it only helped build my confidence as well. So I've really tried to put myself out there and be more creative this year. Even as well, I've been creating like poetry earlier in the year. I was writing some poems. I was so inspired. And again, I'm not saying that they're absolutely amazing, but why does it have to be amazing? At the end of the day, creativity, it's subjective, and it's there to kind of make us feel good. So I started writing some poems, and then I thought, I'm normally quite scared to be vulnerable and share things. But I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to share it with my partner, Luke. So every poem I wrote, I read to him. He probably didn't understand some of them, but never mind. And then I even shared one of them with some of my family members. So really just trying to put myself out there a little bit more, as a way to kind of show that self-acceptance. And it does make you feel more free. Like, oh, look, I've created this, and it doesn't matter what you think because I've enjoyed it and I'm proud of myself for doing it. So I'm really, proud of me for actually just putting myself out there this year, really. I even decided to try and like knit as well. This is what I do. I get so intrigued by all of these different things. And like I've already said in my introduction video, talking's consistent. So my podcast, I'm so looking forward to doing this every week. But I do get engaged with so many other things as well. And I tried knitting. I thought, it doesn't matter if I'm 30. Seriously, I'm going to be the coolest 30-year-old ever. So I got some bamboo knitting sticks. And then I found myself stitching really well. And then, but it was, what was it? It was a cast on I could do. And then I could stitch. But then when I was transitioning from yarn to yarn, that's when it started to flop a little bit. But that's something that I can work on. But, something like that, it's like you can create your own scarves, create your own, just any sort of knitwear, really. So these are some of the things that I've just been doing. So poetry, theatre, starting my podcast and whatnot. And it's really freeing and it's really amazing to know that you can just unleash yourself, so to speak, let go of those restrictions and just do what makes you feel good, do what makes you feel happy in the moment. Um, so just maybe think about, how creative are you at this moment in time? Have you ever been creative in a certain area? Or, is it something that you feel like you would need to dabble in and try different things to see what suits you? Because at the end of the day, if we don't have creativity, our life literally does lack that kind of like luster, and we lack the zest for life. Um, and I do think it's so important. I honestly believe that there's so many benefits to being creative, which is why I wanted to do this episode today. I've got so many other episodes and so many other ideas that I'm looking forward to doing, but I just felt that, doing an episode on creativity whilst I'm creating a new podcast just made sense to me. Especially because this year I've made massive like gains and milestones with my creativity and been more vulnerable. So when we're thinking about the benefits of creativity, um, first of all, we know that it's incredibly fun and exciting. Okay, whether you show someone what you've created or not, it can be really fun and exciting in the moment, and lift you up. Of course. So why not do something that's going to lift us up? We know that this world can be, really difficult, really hard sometimes. If we're not creating, we're not having that fun and excitement, then again, we're going to start losing our zest for life. So, that is the main benefit, I would say. It can be fun and exciting. But of course, you can, it depends on what you're doing. But when I was knitting, I found that incredibly relaxing, to the point where I wouldn't even be thinking, I was just like in the zone of just doing this repetitive movement. And I found it really soothing. So, you can get creative and have those benefits as well. I really do think that creativity gives you a sense of accomplishment as well. Which we all know, we all want to feel accomplished, whether it is something small, something big. Sometimes we just need those little like goals, little targets that we meet on a regular basis. So when I wrote some poems earlier this year, I wrote one poem and I felt really proud of myself. And then the next day I got really inspired and I wanted to write another one. And it's like every poem I just felt like was so different, but I felt like I'd accomplished something. And then especially when I was, telling Luke about them and showing them to him, because, I was a bit worried, oh, he's probably going to think this is a load of rubbish and, doesn't understand it. Or even though some of them were more kind of, explicit, more kind of obvious. But so it's just one of those things that I think that you do feel a sense of accomplishment. One of my favourite poems actually that I wrote was a poem on the Grand Canyon. If there's any American listeners here, you're probably going to be thinking, what the hell? It's just a canyon. But to me, it's not. I'm from England and I always wanted to go there. So I actually went there earlier this year, as almost like a treat for my 30th birthday sort of time. And it was absolutely amazing. And I wrote a poem that was kind of outlining my journey. So, like going from the hotel, traveling there, and then seeing it. And that's like my favorite poem. And it's one of those poems as well that I can look back on. And as I'm reading it, like it takes me back to the moment of, traveling on the motorway or the highway, seeing all the cacti, and then actually seeing the Grand Canyon. But it really like gets my emotions when I read that through, because I remember how I felt, and it's a place that I've always wanted to go see, probably since I was about 14, 15. So for me to finally go to see the Grand Canyon was really amazing. So that poem means a lot to me, and for me to express that and write that in such a creative way, it's something I can always like look back on and hold on to. So if you're thinking about, I don't know, maybe writing a poem yourself and you think, well, I'd like to write poetry, but someone else will judge it. Someone else will think it's not good enough. Screw what everyone else thinks. It does not matter. It really does not matter. I think essentially when we want to be creative, we are just holding ourselves back because of fear of what other people might or might not be thinking. And like I've already mentioned, it's subjective. And if it makes you feel good, then it's worth doing. So what I would do, in thinking about all of these benefits of being creative, how it boosts your confidence, you feel that sense of accomplishment, you overcome your fears. you really get to be expressive in any way that suits you. Well, I challenge you to think now, what can you do that's creative, that's going to make you feel good? And maybe start off small, start off small. Maybe you do write a small poem. Maybe decide to write a little tune or create, like a new sort of recipe or something like that. Start off small and just recognize how it makes you feel, because I promise you, I'd be very, well, not promise, I'd be very surprised if you didn't feel good doing something creative. Um, it almost gives you that permission to be more childlike as well, and innocent and free. You know, typically speaking, children, when they're really young and they're not kind of tainted by the world and whatnot, they're so in tune with their sort of creative expression, just the way that they live life, so in the moment, so present. And I think there's a lot that we can kind of learn from children and learn from our past selves. And I don't see why we should be stopping ourselves from doing something creatively just because we're in a mundane job 9 to 5, or just because we're an adult now, it's time to grow up. I hate stuff like that. I really don't think that we should be holding back on our creativity. It does not matter what age you are at. You could be 30, you could be 80. Do something creative, make it exciting, make it fun, or make it relaxing. And honestly, you will probably see those benefits. So have a think about that and think, what can you challenge yourself to do? To do something creative. It might be you think, you know what, Callanthea, I would like to do a podcast. I want to start my own podcast. Well, go for it. This is my second episode. Just do it. Research it, do it, plan it out, and just enjoy it. So I know I've kind of like spoke a lot about creativity there. And there's probably so much more that I can say. And obviously, I've got loads of episodes in mind for what I want to be doing every Wednesday. So please stay tuned for those. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this. I really hope that, you do stick around and that you enjoy the episodes. And of course, please stay true to you. And hopefully, I'll see you soon.